Despite the occasional AI researcher believing that the LLM they interacted with might be conscious, it is the general consensus that AI systems are not conscious and are unlikely to be anytime soon. Put concisely, the neuroscientist Liad Mudrik of Tel Aviv University said, "Consciousness poses a unique challenge in our attempt to study it, because it's hard to define. So let's explore the reasons for why this is the current case." From a neuroscientific perspective, here are 3 current reasonable suggestions. The first is that we might not be able to take away consciousness from the organizational complexity of organisms like human beings in the first place. Another reason is that the topological architecture of LLMs, like GPT-4, are sufficiently different from the neurobiological circuits linked to consciousness in mammals that there is no reason to conclude that they are capable of phenomenal consciousness. Phenomenal consciousness being what it is like to be something, like the conscious experience of being human, for example. Anil Seth of Sussex University also thinks biology matters, stating that he worries more for the potential consciousness of brain tissue grown in a dish than conscious AI. Then there is the issue of an umwelt, which is the portion of reality an organism is able to perceive. The umwelt of an ant, for example, is likely more limited than the umwelt of a chimpanzee. Mammals, like humans, have relatively rich umwelts compared to the potential umwelt of an LLM, which may make it difficult for it to develop consciousness in any recognizable way. The AI researcher Robert Long, although long-term optimistic, echoes this sentiment. "This is a general thought I have when working on AI sentience. You notice the lack of certainty we have in the animal case, and you just multiply that times 100. But I think it's for similar reasons. The reason it's hard with animals is that they're built in a different way. They have different needs in different environments. They have different ways of solving problems that they face in their lives. So it's very hard just to read off from their behaviour what it's like to be them." But the challenges don't just come from detecting AI. There is also the concern associated with the ethics of AI systems. As Robert Long al. said, "Humans mistreat farmed animals in very large numbers, motivated by powerful economic incentives. Whether or not this mistreatment depends on a failure to attribute consciousness to these animals, it illustrates the potential problem. In the case of AI, there is likely to be considerable resistance to attributions of consciousness, partly because developers of AI may have powerful economic incentives to downplay concerns about welfare. In short, economic incentives may drive the ethics of AI consciousness, and that should be an area of concern." It's fair to say that there isn't one stream of thought on what it might take to understand artificial consciousness, but as the pace of AI progress increases, our understanding of conscious states will also need to increase. Long al. proposed that there are a number of indicator properties gathered from consciousness research that can be implemented in AI systems to assess properties that might signal that a system is conscious. The research group also looked closely at current AI systems, such as Google DeepMind's Adaptive Agent and the Google-funded Palm-E. What these systems do well is adaptation, but although this is a key sign of intelligence, there are still no clear indicators of conscious activity. However, the authors seem optimistic that more research and investment in consciousness research can close the understanding gap. In other news, work done by Peter Godfrey-Smith, famous for his research on cephalopods, like octopuses for example, raises new questions about consciousness. At the recent 26th Annual Association of the Scientific Study of Consciousness, Godfrey-Smith made the case that rich forms of agency have evolved in different body plans, like cephalopods, which is challenging the historical belief that consciousness only evolved in vertebrates. This has implications for AI because it shows that we don't necessarily need to replicate the cognitive architecture of humans for some type of consciousness to emerge. The questions we are asking are also improving. OpenAI's Ilya Sutskever argues that we have a test that could in the near future test for consciousness. It goes like this. Imagine if you had an AI system and fed it data, like here is a ball or here is a castle, over the course of many years from a variety of teachers, but you never mention consciousness. Then at some point you sit down and say, "I want to tell you about consciousness now." You then explain a bit about it and then the AI responds saying, "I've been feeling the same thing, I just didn't know how to articulate it." Researchers like Susan Schneider have also constructed tests like this and believe that it could be helpful in deciphering conscious AIs. So what can be done other than more investment in consciousness research? Effective science communication is one area that might need to progress. For example, as these systems become more complex, normal people may be seduced into thinking the systems they are interacting with are conscious, which could lead to unnecessary confusion, and vice versa, if a system is conscious but nothing is said about it, this could also cause problems. And then there is a question of a moratorium. Eric Schwitzgebel of the University of California says that if it is unclear whether an AI system could be conscious, we should avoid building it. But is this realistic? AI researcher Rufin van Rullen doesn't think so. He thinks that by having a moratorium, it could stop the field from progressing in other ways not associated with AI consciousness, like the clinical trials already underway for AI drug development that could save lives in the future. To sum up what we've seen, we are unlikely to see AI consciousness soon, if at all possible, but we also don't really have the current tools to assess whether it could be in the first place, making investment in consciousness research an important priority. On the ethics side, it seems the burden is on scientists and philosophers to carve the path for AI companies to follow.